Senator Dillard, I'll start with you for this next question. Illinois' temporary personal and corporate income tax increases will expire a few months from now. As the Senate President put it this week, that's about $1.6 billion in revenue that we're going to be losing. Where specifically does that lost revenue come from?
Well, first of all, I didn't vote for the Democrats' 67% increase in the state income tax. Senator Cullerton, the Senate President, and his colleagues promised us, they promised the people of Illinois that they would make this tax temporary and they would use it to pay off our old bills. So, you know, it's up to Senator Cullerton and his colleagues to live up to their commitment to the people of this state to make that tax temporary. I would make it up in primarily two places. The first is you've got to grow your economy. Alex, and I told you we rate 50th in economic outlook in a couple of national surveys. You know, we must make us the capital of the Midwest and competitive again. So you've got to grow your economy. That's the best way if you believe, and I believe Illinois has a spending problem, not a revenue problem, but the best way to put more money in the state treasury is through creating private sector good paying jobs. But I've got a laser focus in on Medicaid. Medicaid's our state's largest expenditure. I've managed that system before, once for a gubernatorial administration. It needs to be innovative. We spend more on Medicaid, Alex, than we do on education, and that's not my priority, but there are billions of dollars of savings that I believe we can get from Medicaid. You've got to take people who are ineligible to be on Medicaid, and there are tens of thousands of those people that Governor Quinn and his administration will not get off those rolls to save money and provide better care to those who truly need it.
Mr. Rauner, how do we potentially offset a $1.6 billion shortfall?
We have to bring down the overall spending dramatically. That's primarily pension reform, true significant pension reform. That's significant Medicaid restructuring and reform. It's also government operations restructuring and reform. Our government is bloated, it's bureaucratic, it's high cost, very little use of technology in our government. We need to transform our government operations.
And these are all things that will bring down the immediate problem that the Senate President points out is, $1.6 billion as this expires immediately.
Well, the one thing, politicians like to get caught up in a particular issue that is conducive to their point of view. President Cullerton is advocating a progressive income taxes and trying to make the case so that we need to go to that. We do not. It would be damaging to the economy. Politicians spin things for their own benefit. We need to reduce the spending dramatically. And if it takes us a couple years to do it, that shouldn't dissuade us, and we shouldn't worry about a $1.6 billion one-year problem. We've got to take the tough decisions that benefit us for the long term. One of the priorities I will do is not only bring down the state level spending, I want to form a task force, a commission focused on reducing government cost and waste in the state of Illinois. I'll bring together county chairmen, mayors, city managers, and school superintendents who are focused on productivity and lowering costs. Because our government cost problems, our tax problems, aren't only at the state level. They are throughout the layers of government we have. We need to reduce the number of layers. We need to drive down the cost and up the productivity. And I want a comprehensive statewide solution.
Senator Brady.
Well, there's probably nothing more important right now than delivering on that tax cut. Every candidate's got to make their decisions, but I'm the only candidate who's consistently said no way, no how will we let the Democrats increase taxes in Illinois, and I will deliver on that tax cut. Why? Because it's the only way we're going to rebuild our economy. The Democrats took 1 week's pay out of the pockets of every working family in the state of Illinois. They took money away from small businesses that wanted to reinvest in capital. If we're going to rebuild our economy, we've got to build enthusiasm and confidence in the business side, and to do that we've got to deliver on this tax cut. In fact, I want to go further. I've outlined a plan to further reduce the personal income tax in Illinois with a goal of actually eliminating it. Like states like Texas and Florida, who are tops in all barometers, tops in employment, tops in fiscal responsibility, tops in job growth. But how you do it starts with also fiscal responsibility, which is why it was so imperative that we passed pension reform. We couldn't wait for this. We needed the reform. The reform will provide over $1.3 billion in first-year savings. That helps offset those increases. Natural revenue growth will help us as well, and there are other areas of state government where we can work on reforming. Medicaid is one of the biggest areas that we have. But natural revenue growth is estimated to be over $900 million in revenue. That pension reform, $1.3 billion, that offsets it. But we can't stop there. We've got to make sure that every dollar the taxpayers give us to spend is redefined and reprioritized so that we're spending it for the best interest of the people of Illinois.
And Treasurer Rutherford.
Great, thank you. You know, what I decided both as state senator, as a state treasurer, now a candidate for governor, is that I'm not going to pander and I'm not going to throw bombshells for political reasons. I did not oppose Governor Quinn's desire to move back his budget address. He's a constitutional officer, and some are saying it's political, it's because of the primary. Well, you know, I'm a constitutional officer. I've had to put together a budget. I understand. I didn't oppose that. If he needs a little more time, I'm okay with that. Also, up front, I don't want this income tax increase to stay. I don't want it to stay. But I don't know what's going to happen between now and January when I take that oath of office. I don't think the pension bill will be constitutional. What are they going to do between this next session in regards to borrowing and spending? There may be, you know, let's be honest, there may need to be some form of revenue on the table for a negotiation. I've called for long-range strategic planning for our state assets, our prisons, our centers for developmental disabilities, and for veterans. But what I can also tell you is everything will be on the table. Everything's going to be on the table. And I don't particularly think that what Senator Cullerton has just done to try to pander, politicize, and go out there and grandstand about this issue because we have ourselves a gubernatorial race. You've got to take this out of the hot searing spotlight and sit down, put everything on the table, and negotiate what's best for the long term of the state of Illinois.